alone already let you know that now we're dealing with a criminal.
And the family says they will continue to hold out hope that somehow Alicia can be found and brought home safe. Of course, we'll keep you posted both here and online. Right now, we are in East Charlotte. Richard Devane for Wake Up Charlotte.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
Beautiful day, so many people helping. This is incredible.
Let's spread that love tonight.
Here is a $5,000 check that you guys can use to further the mission.
There is nothing on earth like the feeling of giving back with your hands.
$5,000 to you and Block Love Charlotte for what you guys do.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make-a-difference now.
Wake Up Charlotte's Drew Petrimo has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Good morning, Ben and Sarah. Trump's arraignment is set for 4 p.m. at a federal courthouse here in D.C. Law enforcement is promising tight security as the former president returns to the nation's capital. Barriers surround a courthouse in Washington, D.C., where former President Trump is set to be arraigned today in front of a federal judge. He's facing 4 felony counts for what prosecutors say were Trump's efforts to remain in power even after he lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden. Despite Trump's claims that the prosecution is a political hit, his former Vice President Mike Pence says Trump did pressure him to overturn the election.
And on that day, President Trump asked me to put him over the Constitution, but I chose the Constitution, and I always will.
After Pence refused, prosecutors say Trump used an angry mob assembled at the Capitol on January 6 to pressure Pence more directly. The indictment says Trump also led a scheme to overturn election results in 7 states.
Pressuring Mike Pence, gathering false slates of electors, trying to weaponize the Justice Department by sending letters to legislatures suggesting they reconvene and substitute their own slates of electors. It's all of that conduct that is the gist of this case.
This is the 3rd indictment for Trump, this one splitting candidates in the Republican primary.
But I believe each of these indictments, Brett, reek of politicization.
Donald Trump, for the good of the country, should drop out of the race.
Voters also weighing in.
If ever he has earned and deserved something, it's another indictment.
If he's on the ballot, my plan is to vote for him.
Trump remains the far and away leader in the Republican race and is using his legal troubles to rally supporters and rake in campaign cash. The federal judge presiding over the case is Tanya Chutkan. She is an Obama appointee known for handing out tough prison sentences to people involved in the January 6 riot. Reporting from Washington, I'm Drew Petrimo. Wake Up Charlotte.
Time now to connect the dots. We make the news make sense. Since the pandemic, there's been a big drop in the number of folks going to church, but there's one group in particular who is staying away from Sunday service.
Church attendance for middle-aged folks is falling faster than any other age group. Let's connect the dots. Americans in their 40s and 50s often identify with a religion, but they aren't putting their faith into practice. The percentage of people between the ages of 39 to 57 attending church is dropping. It's down 12% from 2020. Why is it happening? According to the Wall Street Journal, middle-aged Americans are busy raising kids, caring for aging parents, and juggling demanding jobs. The pandemic itself is also to blame. Experts believe the time in isolation forced folks to reassess things and figure out what they really believe. Some folks have also grown uneasy with the political polarization in some churches on issues like gay rights. Now churches are feeling the pain, with less than half of all U.S. adults belonging to a house of worship. And that is connecting the dots.
Verify, WCNC Charlotte.
Verify is all about trying to make a difference in the community by making sure that the community has the correct information. This is what we know, and hey, this is what we don't know. Sometimes you're actually surprised by the answer.
Verify the difference.
Verify is a great way to combat that misinformation, making sure that people know the process of the reporting.
Well, an unwelcome illness making a return across the country, especially in the Carolinas. You may have heard a friend or coworker feeling under the weather. It may be because positive cases of COVID are heading in an upward trend. Wake Up Charlotte's Tradisha Wooder joins us from the newsroom with the latest numbers in the Tar Heel state. Tradisha, this isn't anything anyone wants to hear about.
That's right, Sarah. And along with an uptick in COVID cases, you may have to go on a scavenger hunt to find a COVID test, with many pharmacists saying their shelves are nearly empty. COVID cases are on the rise again as health officials continue to monitor how quickly the virus is spreading. The latest data shows the virus is the most prevalent in wastewater, with details highlighting 14 million virus particles per person. That's an increase of about 218% in comparison to about 5 weeks ago. Along with the rise in cases, it's also becoming increasingly more challenging to find tests. Some pharmacists say people are scooping up at-home tests to take before going on vacations, leaving their shelves nearly wiped clean. And if you are looking for at-home tests, the state has some locations listed on their website where you can pick them up for free, as well as links for you to purchase them online. Log on to our website at WCNC.com for more details. Sarah?
As the war in Ukraine rages on, Ukrainian refugees continue to make their way right here to the United States. And Charlotte has become a home for some of those families.
WCNC Charlotte's Shamaria Morrison sat down with a group of refugee children to talk about how they're transitioning to life in our area.
The families coming off this charter bus just experienced a weekend they'll never forget.
We were paddleboarding, we were swimming, we were fishing. I even caught a fish on Friday. Wait, was that Friday? No, I think that was Wednesday, actually.
Anfisa and her friends sitting next to her are all from Ukraine.
Do you have a favorite food? Circle pizza. Circle. Me too. And circle pizza. Circle pizza. Yeah, circle pizza. Absolutely.
They just experienced their first overnight camp in the U.S. at YMCA Camp Harrison. Being in a quiet camp, tucked away from the noise, was a welcome getaway since leaving their home country.
We should understand that all these children have seen a lot. They have met war very, very close. They've seen terrible things. They've heard alarms from the missiles. They were hiding in their shelters underground.
One father, Vadim, sent his wife and his little girl to the U.S. when the war first broke out. He arrived in the States just 9 weeks ago. Vadim was able to send his baby girl to the camp.
They made friends, they had fun, and we are especially grateful for people who invested into all this project financially, emotionally, physically.
Vadim and his family currently live with Michael Durkis, their sponsor while in the U.S. Durkis helped get this plan in motion.
Hi, everybody.
I said, I've got these kids who would like to come to camp.
The fundraising arm of the YMCA of Greater Charlotte stepped in.
He reached out to one of his donors who was able to sponsor these children.
For the kids, this 1 week stay was a small taste of normalcy, but their hearts are still in Ukraine and with the kids there.
Because sometimes it's hard, right? Yeah. Do you all miss home? Yeah. A bit, yeah.
But they have a message to those still in Ukraine.
Everything is going to be okay soon. What Russia is doing in Ukraine isn't very good, but Russians who do support Ukraine, thank you very much. And we love the support. So everything will be okay, guys.
That was Shamaria Morrison reporting once again. Charlotte for Ukraine and the YMCA of Greater Charlotte are actually partnering for a cultural exchange family camp weekend that's happening September 22nd through 24th. They do need more U.S. families to sign up. We've got those details over at WCNC.com.
Thank you, Ben Thompson. A lot of rain at some spots yesterday. Check out some of these rainfall totals. Lenore, 4.75 inches. Newland, over 4 inches there. Over 3 inches at Collinsville. Taylorsville, almost 3 and 2.5 inches at Hildebrandt. It was a rainy day yesterday. Right now, things have calmed down quite a bit. A few spotty showers east and southeast of here. You can see if you're heading Highway 74, maybe headed over towards Wadesboro and Rockingham, you encounter some heavy rainfall just to the south and southeast of Rockingham, around Bennettsville in South Carolina, heading to Laurinburg and that area. Some light to moderate rainfall all south of there. And then the heaviest rain at the moment from Dillon all the way down to Marion. If you're heading to the Carolina coastline, maybe heading Highway 9 and heading towards North Myrtle Beach, you'll encounter some showers there. We expand the view and show you Basically, most of the heavy rainfall is east of Interstate 77 and moving east. Got a preview of the upcoming weekend for you. Typical temperatures for the upcoming weekend, close to 90 for Saturday, around 91 on Sunday. And, you know, only a little pop-up thunderstorm, the typical situation we see this time of the year. As far as humidity, it's higher on Sunday, and that means those feels-like temperatures will be in the upper 90s Sunday afternoon. For today, your wake-up forecast showing 79 degrees at 1 o'clock in the middle of the afternoon. Still below average, will be in the low to mid-80s over most of the area. Current temperature readings include 70 at Rock Hill in South Carolina, 69 over at Salisbury, in the mid-60s up at Boone and Jefferson. In Wilkesboro, North Wilkesboro, 64 degrees there. Once again, 72 right here in Charlotte, North Carolina on this Friday morning. As far as the UV index, I think that today with those cloud covers, still going to be medium risk at about a 3 on the scale there. That's with a limited amount of sunshine for the afternoon. Once again, take a look at those temperatures. 84 degrees around 6 p.m. You're heading out this evening around 10 o'clock tonight. Fair skies, and temperatures will be at that time in the low to mid 70s. Here it is, average highs 90. We're going to be in the mid 80s over most of the area today. Once you get to the mountains, it'll be in the mid to upper 70s up there. Then overnight tonight, temperatures dropping into the upper 60s. Check it out, big event coming to Mooresville tonight, Liberty Park. Great event there. It's 6:30 to 9 o'clock. Fantastic music. The Entertainer has been around for a long time. The great beach music, top 40 R&B. A little shagging going on there in Mooresville tonight. Check out the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. 85 today, near 90 tomorrow. As we head towards the beginning of the next week, I think Monday there is a little bit better chance of some storms than the rest of the week. Average temperatures upper 80s to close to 90 degrees. We do have some issues this morning to talk.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense, cybersecurity experts are working around the clock to stop artificial intelligence from posing as humans. But now a common tool used to stop bots may not be doing the job at all.
Pretty soon, websites will stop making you prove you're a real person. Let's connect the dots. If you shop online, you run into those robot tests. They're called CAPTCHAs, and they can come in a couple different forms. Everything from checking a box to selecting images that include a traffic light, all to prove you're a real-life human and not a bot. Here's the problem. AI is giving bots the ability to behave more like humans, allowing them to beat a CAPTCHA. Also, some of us get so annoyed with the robot test, we actually give up on our purchases altogether. Newer approaches will test our computers and not us. According to the Washington Post, sites can look for clues on your computer that indicate you're an actual person. This means you'll see fewer traffic light challenges on the big websites, but expect smaller companies to take longer making that switch. And that is Connecting the Dots.
We are just weeks away from the start of a new school year for many students, and one local church is making sure kids have what they need to stay healthy this year. The Northeast SDA Church on Tom Hunter Road hosting a back-to-school health fair. The ministry offering a variety of health services like physicals, dental screenings, vision screenings, and even haircuts at no cost. Organizers say access to these services is growing more important as the Queen City grows in population.
There's so many people moving to Charlotte right now that even if you have a medical provider, it's booked out trying to get a physical. So I think there's overwhelming appreciation because if they weren't getting these physicals now, they have issues with the time the school opens. And now, even with sports physicals, now they get all their stuff cleared out right now, and so and for free. So I think it's a blessing.
The fair also offering items for kids like free clothing, books, shoes, and prizes as well. 100 people move to the Charlotte area every single day. With so many people moving here, a lot of people need to switch over their licenses and registration. One viewer asked us how long they have to make that switch. Wake Up Charlotte's Megan Bragg explains in this Verify Fact Check.
We got this email from viewer Alex. They said, I recently moved to NC and I heard I need a new driver's license and registration, but my license doesn't expire for a couple of years and my registration is good for a few more months. I'm curious if I really do, given I have a license from another state. Our sources, the North Carolina DMV and attorney Gary Monty. According to the North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles, a person has 60 days from establishing permanent residence in North Carolina to get a North Carolina driver's license or ID and to register any vehicles. And it doesn't matter if their previous driver's license has expired. So what happens if you don't do that within 60 days? We sent that question over to attorney Gary Monty, who says there's some good news and some bad news. The good news, no license is a traffic infraction, not a criminal offense. Usually it's a fine of up to $100 plus court costs, 3 points on your driving record, and 1 point on your insurance record. The bad news, if you don't have your car registered or your registration is expired, that's a Class 3 misdemeanor. Monty says missing a court date for this can result in the issuance of an arrest warrant. He says a conviction on this misdemeanor would show up on your criminal record. Monty says the best thing to do on either offense is get the error corrected, go to court, and show paper credentials to the district attorney, and they will most likely reduce the charges. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
And keep in mind, if there's something you would like us to verify, all you got to do, email us at verify@wcnc.com. Larry, it's time now, 5:15. It is time to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. Alcohol deaths on the rise in women in the U.S., and now doctors are sounding the alarm on the deadly upward trend.
The rate of alcohol-related deaths is rising faster among women than men. Let's connect the dots. CDC researchers found that while men are more likely to die from alcohol, the gender gap is closing. Exactly why is still unclear, but researchers say more women are drinking alcohol, especially in the wake of the pandemic, where depression and anxiety skyrocketed. So what's considered too much? Excessive drinking in women is considered as having more than 4 drinks in one setting. And there are some warning signs, including being unable to limit alcohol consumption and feeling anxious without drinking for a short amount of time. Doctors say this could all lead to long-term health effects like liver disease and decreased fertility.
Are you ready? Okay. Good morning. I'm Erin Wiggins with CMPD's Public Affairs Office. Thank you for being here this morning. Today we'll be providing information on a crimes against children investigation. There will be 2 parts to the press conference. So joining me first is Captain Jim Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. He is the captain over our Special Victims Division, and he'll be discussing the investigation. Following his update, we will have Officer Claudio Jimenez, J-I-M-E.
I'm Captain Jim Wright, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department's Special Victims Division. Today I'm representing our Crimes Against Children unit. Today, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department stands with the community in identifying an adult who victimized 3 juveniles several years ago. These three men courageously came forward to report that between the years of 2001 and 2011, they were inappropriately touched multiple times by the same suspect. During that time, these young men were between the ages of 9 and 15 years old. They identified the suspect as Robert Bradley Price, P-R-I-C-E, commonly known as Bobby Price. His date of birth is June 15th, 1967. The survivors of these horrific and traumatic experiences met the suspect at the former Kingsway Baptist Church, which was located in Concord, North Carolina. Mr. Price served as a youth advisor, youth pastor at that church. That's how he met our victims. They were victimized in the suspect's vehicle while he was transporting them to and from church, at his residence, and one of these incidents actually occurred at Kingsway Baptist Church in Concord. The CMPD Crimes Against Children unit began aggressively working these cases last year when we were first made aware. when the first adult came forward giving us this information. We've done numerous interviews with church members, former church members, other individuals that have given us the information. Through the collaboration with the community coming stepping forward and giving us that information, our detectives were able to obtain 13 warrants for indecent liberties on a child and 1 warrant for statutory sex offense on a child. So Mr. Price is now accused of 14 counts of criminal misconduct on those children back in the day. Mr. Price has a former conviction in 2014 for indecent liberties. Those stem from allegations in both Mecklenburg and Cabarrus County and are tied to that former Kingsway Baptist Church. He was convicted on several counts of indecent liberties. He served his 16 months in the Department of Corrections and is currently on the sex offender registry. Mr. Price currently is employed at Camino Church, which is located here in Charlotte. They have been notified and cooperative, but at this time, I'm sure this will be a question, we have no reports of anything at Camino Church at the time. The men that came forward are reporting things that happened early 2000s. Mr. Price was taken into custody this morning by our violent criminal apprehension team without incident. He has since been transferred over to the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. At this time, I'll let Claudio present in Spanish, and then we will take questions. Thank you.
So thank you, Captain Wright. I'll introduce Officer Jimenez in a second. So as Captain Wright mentioned, there's certainly the potential that there are more victims out there. We want these survivors to feel that they have the information to feel empowered to come forward and report any crime without concern for repercussions. So due to Mr. Price's employment at Camino Church, we believe it's critical that we translate this information for our Spanish-speaking community members. So I'll let Officer Jimenez.
Buenos días. Esta información que voy a entregar a continuación viene directamente de la Oficina de Relaciones Públicas del Departamento de Policía de Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Hoy día, nuestro Departamento de Policía se une una vez más en la lucha en contra del abuso infantil, identificando a individuos que han abusado y traicionado la confianza puesta en ellos por nuestra comunidad, victimizando a los más vulnerables de ellos, a los niños. 3 hombres adultos de nuestra comunidad se acercaron a nuestro Departamento de Policía para reportar que fueron abusados sexualmente múltiples veces por un adulto entre los años 2001 y 2011, cuando ellos tenían las edades de entre 9 y 15 años de edad. Ellos identificaron al sospechoso como Robert Bradley Price, más conocido como Bobby Price, con fecha de nacimiento del 15 de junio de 1967. Los sobrevivientes de estas horribles y traumáticas experiencias conocían al sospechoso en la iglesia anteriormente conocida como Kingsway Baptist Church, ubicada en Concord, North Carolina, donde él trabajaba como un pastor que trabajaba con los jóvenes. Ellos fueron victimizados en el vehículo del sospechoso mientras ellos los llevaba y los traía de la iglesia a sus casas. Y en una ocasión, también en la misma iglesia, fueron tocados inapropiadamente. La unidad especializada en crímenes contra niños de nuestro Departamento de Policía ha estado trabajando en estos casos y desarrollando causa probable para poder obtener órdenes de arresto contra este individuo, los cuales resultaron en 13 cargos criminales por tomarse libertades indecentes con un menor de edad y un cargo de abuso sexual de un menor de edad. El señor Price fue arrestado esta mañana por una unidad especial de nuestro Departamento de Policía, sin ningún incidente. El señor Price ha sido encontrado culpable en el año 2014 por otros casos de tomarse libertades indecentes y abuso sexual de menores, por los cuales él también fue convicto. Él está actualmente registrado como un abusador sexual en el registro que tenemos en el estado de Carolina del Norte. Es importante destacar en esta oportunidad de que debido a la posición de autoridad que tenía este individuo en esos años, si es que hay más víctimas de esta persona que puedan sentir la confianza de acercarse a nuestro departamento de policía y entregarnos esa información y para que nosotros podamos tomar los pasos correspondientes. O si usted piensa que prefiere llamar por teléfono, también lo puede hacer, llamando a nuestro programa de Crime Stoppers al número 704-334-1600. Gracias.
And now we'll open it up for a few questions from both Captain and Officer here.
Yes.
Tina Quizon with the TQ Group. As a previous, and he's on the sex offender list, what are the laws or the rules of working at a facility that regularly would have children, such as a church?
Right. Registered sex offenders have to follow certain conditions set forth by the state and the adjudication of that case. I can't go into everything. I'm not the expert in that, but I can tell you that it does not limit individuals on the sex offender list to attend a church. There are provisions in there about them being teachers and working in formal daycares, but we don't know the extent of what Mr. Price is doing at Camino Church. We're still looking into that. But you're correct. There is laws on that. We haven't uncovered a violation of that at this time.
Your understanding is he was currently the associate pastor at Camino.
We understand he has that role, yes. We've heard that directly from Camino.
So just a reminder, I want to give the opportunity for translation here.
Oh, yes. La consulta es por el hecho de que el señor Price actualmente trabaja como un pastor asociado en la organización local aquí en Carolina del Norte de El Camino, con respecto a sus previas convicciones como un abusador sexual y qué condiciones se pueden prestar en ese aspecto. De hecho, hay condiciones específicas que ellos tienen que seguir y hay limitaciones en cuanto al trabajo que estas personas que están registradas en este registro de abuso sexual pueden hacer o no pueden hacer. Hemos descubierto de que sí, él estaba en funciones como un pastor asociado en la organización El Camino, y también hemos descubierto de que de hecho, eso consiste en una violación a estas reglas que están supuestos a seguir.
Oficial, entonces, la Iglesia de Camino no cumplió tal vez con este protocolo que tienen, si está en la lista de ofensores sexuales.
Sí, hasta ahora, como este es un caso abierto y todavía estamos recibiendo información, no tenemos todos los detalles del caso, pero lo que sí sabemos con certeza es de que él estaba ahí trabajando en funciones como pastor asociado y de que eso constituye una violación a las reglas.
What was the question?
I extended on the same, what he was saying, and he also asked if El Camino, the organization, knew about this situation, if they knew about this violation of the rules of him being a registered sex offender and working at that organization.
And did they know? I mean, was the church aware?
We have reason to believe that certain members of the church knew of the previous conviction.
I mean, leadership, do you know if leadership did?
I don't know specifically, but yes, we know that current members at the church knew he was a registered sex offender.
Captain, as of 2018, there were other registered sex offenders working at Camino as well. Is there any concern about this church and other possible victims, even though none have come forward from this specific church?
There's always concerns. There's a high rate of recidivism with those that are registered sex offenders. We can't say who, we can't say where, but just because you're on the sex offender registry does not prevent you from attending a church or certain other religious functions. We are not aware of any other concerns at the church, and certainly if anyone at the church or any church or places where adults supervise children have concerns, they're welcome to reach out to CMPD. I'll let catch up.
La consulta fue de si El Camino estaba al tanto de esta situación y si han habido otros incidentes o reportes de personas que han sufrido, pueden haber caído víctimas de este individuo o otras circunstancias. Y la respuesta que acabamos de dar es que hasta ahora con la información que tenemos es un caso que está en progreso y seguimos recibiendo más información. De hecho, aun cuando una persona que está registrada como un ofensor sexual no puede tener un cargo en ninguna de estas organizaciones, tampoco se le puede prohibir atender a una iglesia. Pero, por cierto, estamos avisando y dando notificación de que si hay personas que pueden haber sido víctimas de esta persona o de alguna otros depredadores en alguna organización religiosa, que tengan la confianza de acercarse a nosotros para que podamos investigar y traer a las personas responsables a la justicia.
I may have cut you off. Did you have a follow-up on that?
I had one quick follow-up. If you work with these type of victims regularly, what was the flip? If you can go back over how these victims came forward and found the courage to do so, or, I mean, what made them come forward?
That's a very good question that leads into the adolescent development of children. When children are victimized either brutally by physical harm, sexual harm, emotional harm, when that child is ready to come forward, they do. Some immediately report and disclose to their parents or friends. Others, it takes a while to process. When they're ready, they come forward. And we're always ready. And if folks have been a victim or think they've been a victim, you're welcome to contact us. We don't force you to go through with prosecution. We're victim-centered. We want to get assistance to those victims, to those survivors, so they can deal with the trauma.
And really, one quick follow-up.
Yes.
I promise I'll let you translate. But you said this investigation started about a year ago. Can you talk, even in generalities, about the work that went in this past year to finally bring these charges?
There's a tremendous amount of work on any delayed disclosure of any type of criminal act, okay? We don't have the ability to get a lot of physical evidence when there's a time frame. We rely on testimony from our survivors, victims, witnesses. We reached out to community members, to other church members, tried to talk to anybody that would talk to us to get an idea, some context, what was going on. We still have to corroborate what statement anyone brings to us. That turns out to be our evidence in this case, is cooperation with the community, with former members of the church, current members of Kingsway. I mean, it's no longer in existence, but former members of that church and the community came forward together to work with us to get some type of closure and start the justice process. So I'll have to let him catch up on that.
La pregunta tenía dos partes. La primera era, ¿qué fue lo que a estas víctimas le impulsó después de tantos años a venir, a acercarse a la policía y reportar este abuso? Y como expresaba el capitán, diferentes tipos de víctimas asumen este tipo de abuso de diferentes formas. Hay ocasiones en que los jóvenes o los niños que sufren este tipo de abuso lo reportan inmediatamente a sus padres o a algún familiar. Otros les cuesta más procesarlo y demoran más tiempo. Nosotros no estamos aquí para juzgar por qué no lo hicieron antes o por qué no, sino que simplemente darles la confianza de que en el momento que ellos sientan que están listos para acercarse a la policía y reportar esto, nosotros podamos ayudarles con una investigación profesional y lo más concisa y precisa que podamos seguir. La segunda parte de la pregunta era, what was the second part of the question?
The work that went into...
Okay. La segunda parte de la pregunta era el trabajo que llevó, ya que este es un caso que venía siendo investigado ya hace más de un año. Y la respuesta que da el capitán es de que en realidad es bastante el trabajo que va en una investigación de este tipo, ya que ha pasado tanto tiempo, entonces la evidencia es diferente. Tenemos que tratar de destacar y documentar testimonios de víctimas, testimonios de testigos, testimonios de personas que pudieron haber sabido en ese tiempo o que saben ahora, y tratar de construir de esa forma un historial de cómo esto ocurrió cronológicamente. Entonces, de hecho, sí lleva mucho trabajo este tipo de investigaciones.
Oficial, para beneficio de todas las personas que hablan español, no se descarta que haya más víctimas del señor Price, ya sea en la institución de Camino o en alguna otra entidad religiosa que esté atado.
Sí, a este punto no estamos descartando esa posibilidad. y por eso es que también hacemos el llamado a la comunidad. Y si usted sabe, tiene algún conocimiento de algún tipo de abuso que haya sido cometido por esta persona, o si usted ha sido o fue víctima de esta persona, que pueda sentir la confianza de acercarse a nosotros para que nosotros podamos ayudarle.
Explain how, why you guys are the lead on this and not Concord Police, since this occurred in Concord. And also, I know that there haven't been any reports from Camino, but the fact that the church members were aware of his prior convictions, should they have hired him?
First part question. The Kingsway Church was located in Concord, North Carolina, and Cabarrus County. Their followers of that church lived in both Concord and Mecklenburg. In these cases, our victims lived and those offenses occurred within the CMPD jurisdiction. That is why we investigated. Had it been reported it occurred in Concord or Cabarrus County, we would have passed that information along to them. As far as who knew what when, you know, the conviction for the crimes occurred in 2014. A lot of people have changed churches. We don't know the timeline of who knew what when and what was legal at what time. Right now, you brought up a good point. Camino Church serves a lot of Spanish-speaking population. That's one reason we're partnering with our media outlets to get that message out. There may be folks that are victimized that are scared to come forward. Maybe they're not ready yet to talk, but we want to let them know, whenever you are ready, just give us a call. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to get too far ahead of you.
Got good memory, but not that good. La pregunta que hacía la periodista también tiene dos partes. Primero que nada, si la organización El Camino estaba al tanto de esta situación, de este récord que tenía esta persona criminal con respecto a abuso sexual, y si eso es conocimiento de la policía. La respuesta es que como departamento de policía nosotros tomamos la información que se nos entrega y a medida que llega la información la vamos investigando y vamos tratando de corroborarla o descartarla, entrevistando a las personas que pueden haber estado involucradas. A este punto no sabemos quién supo qué o cuándo. Es un proceso que toma tiempo, pero en el momento de que toda esta información salga a la luz y que podamos nosotros confirmar todas las alegaciones, vamos a entregar más información. También queremos expresar a la comunidad de habla hispana, ya que El Camino es una organización que ayuda y trabaja específicamente con la comunidad de habla hispana en la ciudad, de que si hay alguien que ha sido víctima o que siente que ha sido víctima y quizá no está listo para, no tiene la confianza o tiene miedo de acercarse a la policía, que puedan ellos saber y entender de que nosotros estamos aquí para ayudarle, solamente para ayudarle. Y en el momento que ellos sientan que están listos para acercarse a nosotros con información, lo puedan hacer. La otra, antes se me olvide, es que si la iglesia estaba ubicada en Concord, ¿por qué CMPD está investigando esto? Es porque las alegaciones de estos abusos ocurrieron bajo la jurisdicción del condado de Mecklenburg, que es bajo la jurisdicción de CMPD.
Oficial, ya que hace mención breve sobre eso de las víctimas, sabemos que la información no se puede dar, pues es sumamente mínima al tratarse un caso tan delicado, pero si pudiera tal vez confirmarnos que las víctimas pertenecían a la comunidad hispana, esa información se pudiera brindar.
En este momento no podemos entregar esa información, siendo que es un caso que todavía está abierto y en progreso.
Captain, I know it's one thing is the law, the other thing is this recidivism rates that you had talked about with crimes like this. As someone who investigates these crimes against kids, should a person like this be anywhere close to children, whether it be working at a church or attending a church?
They should be closely monitored, but some of that falls back on the parents. I know we've stood before you talking about victims who've been targeted through social media apps, cell phones, and whatnot, but the parents need to be involved too. You need to have conversations with your children early on and let them know what a good touch is, a bad touch. And so your children are very comfortable with you telling you anything. So that's another piece of it. But you're absolutely right. That's why the sex offender registry is there. It's a public website available from the state. You can check and see where sex offenders live near you and around you, and know your surroundings. Yeah, I don't have a specific answer for that, but I hope I came close.
La pregunta específica era de si esta persona era parte de, estaba registrado en el registro del Estado de abusadores sexuales, de cómo si debería haber reglas más estrictas con respecto a ellos atendiendo una iglesia donde hayan niños o aún más participando en iglesias donde hay grupos donde hay niños o menores de edad. Y la respuesta es que sí, tenemos herramientas en el Estado como la registración del Estado, que es pública. Usted puede ir al internet y buscar, en inglés se dice Sex Offender Registry. Usted va ahí y usted puede buscar y mirar quién vive alrededor de usted, en su barrio, en el área donde usted vive, y que están registrados en este website. La otra parte importante que cabe destacar con esto es de que los padres tienen que tener una participación clave en esto. Tenemos que conversar con nuestros hijos. Tenemos que tener esas conversaciones desde temprana edad. ¿Qué es lo que es cuando alguien te toca en una forma inapropiada? ¿Qué es lo que tú debes hacer? ¿Cómo tú tienes que venir y contárselo a papá o a mamá? Es importante que desarrollar esa confianza en nuestros hijos para que ellos tengan esa confianza de acercarse a sus padres y comunicar ese tipo de cosas en caso de que ocurran.
We'll do one more question.
Yes.
Actually, I have two. Will you folks be releasing a before and after photo of Mr. Price? Because that is a 10-year time frame and something might jog
We don't,
something.
Mr. Price has been transferred over to the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office, and they should be posting his most current mugshot, and I believe through there. Or if you go to the State of North Carolina Sex Offender Registry website, you'll be able to find that before photo you were looking at there.
Okay. And the other question was, I'm assuming churches aren't required to do background checks on their volunteers or workers?
That I don't know if there's a specific law on that. I would have to refer you to the state law on that, especially with sex offender
There is
registry.
for schools and daycares. I
Schools and
believe.
daycare are specifically outlined in those sex offender laws.
But that might be important for parents to realize.
It would be for their awareness, correct. Going back to the parents. Know where your kids are, have them comfortable talking to you, and let me let Officer.
La primera pregunta era con respecto a los jóvenes, si hay algún tipo de regla en las iglesias para líderes, gente voluntarios que trabajan con jóvenes en cuanto a que tengan que tener algún tipo de récord, que se les pueda chequear su récord, si tienen algún récord criminal específicamente que envuelva crímenes sexuales contra niños. Y aunque es una buena idea y es algo que dicta el sentido común, nosotros no estamos al tanto de esas reglas, tendrían que buscarlas donde están las leyes del Estado que indican las reglas que tienen que ellos seguir. Tenemos sí el website de la registración de abusadores sexuales, donde ellos cualquier persona puede entrar ahí y ver esa información. Ahora también la otra pregunta era con respecto a una fotografía, si se va a entregar una fotografía del sospechoso de antes, 10 años atrás o 15 años atrás, cuando estos abusos ocurrieron. Quizá eso puede ayudar a algunas personas a reconocerlo. La respuesta es que nosotros no tenemos esa información. Él fue arrestado esta mañana y va a haber una fotografía dentro del website del sheriff. Y también, si usted va al website de la registración de ofensores sexuales, ahí puede también encontrar fotos antiguas de este mismo sujeto.
Auxilia, para culminar, quiero que nos confirmes en efecto si tanto el señor Price tenía algún tipo de relación con el CEO o director de Camino.
He's asking if Mr. Price had any type of direct relation with the CEO or director of Camino. At this point, if we are aware.
We're aware that there's a relative at Camino of Mr. Price. As to that exact relation, I don't want to say because I can't confirm that.
Este punto no estamos seguros de la información. Todo está todavía bajo investigación.
We'll do one last question.
Captain, I think this is probably an underlying message you probably went out here, but all these years later, for these victims to come forward, what is the message you hope it sends to other potential young victims?
Right. I hope if there's a young victim or older victim out there that's been holding this in, been traumatized, I encourage them to come forward. If they don't want to prosecute, we can put them in touch with resources to help them deal with that trauma. But again, appreciate the media out here getting that message out to encourage other victims and survivors to come forward. We look forward to working with the community to keep these sexual predators off our streets. So with that, I will turn it over to PIO. Thank you.
La pregunta específica fue rápidamente sobre cuál es el mensaje que para nuestra comunidad en este momento con respecto a este incidente, un caso que ocurrió hace tantos años y estas personas vienen ahora a reportarlo. Y como decía el capitán, es importante, como decíamos anteriormente, esa comunicación con nuestros hijos, que si algo ha ocurrido con ellos, si algún tipo de abuso ha ocurrido con ellos, que sientan la confianza de acercarse a nosotros y para poder reportarlo. Si ellos no quieren poner cargos criminales, está bien, nosotros podemos todavía darles recursos para terapias y tratamientos que les pueden ayudar con ese tipo de traumas.
As Captain Wright has mentioned, CMPD, we seek justice for victims regardless of when a crime occurred. So we encourage any victims of Mr. Price or anyone with a tip on a case involving Mr. Price to come forward. They can call 704-336-7495 and ask for Detective Carey. Tips can also be submitted anonymously to Crime Stoppers by calling 704-334-1600 or visiting charlottecrimestoppers.com. Prior to the press conference, we did send out information through the MyCMPD app, as well as a media release on our website that contains all the information that was presented today, as well as the report number. So thank you all again for joining us.
Camino Church serves a lot of Spanish-speaking.
Welcome back. Your online passwords are key to securing your accounts and your personal information. That's why it's so important to make sure yours are all up to task, right?
WCNC Charlotte's Carolyn Brock is here with the news.